Hi, welcome to my channel, In-Flight Music. My name is Ian, and in today's video, I want to show you my favorite stock plugins for affecting your 808.
3, 2, 1.
Alright, so in my last tutorial, I already showed you how I would EQ my 808, or just my low end in general. And basically from here, this is where I would start adding extra effects. So I'm just going to stick to the stock effects in FL Studio because usually those are good enough. So the best folder for FL Studio stock effects for 808s is definitely the distortion folder. So let's start with fast distortion, this is probably the most common effect that I see people using in their tutorials for affecting their 808. I personally am not really a fan of it. I'll show you why because of the other effects that we have. Between this A and B setting, I usually like to go with the B setting because it's usually a little more subtle. With the A setting, it's super dramatic, but let's go ahead and listen to what this sounds like before and after. So without fast distortion, and with it. Obviously, just way too much distortion right there to the point where the 808 sounds completely flat. So what I would do here is adjust this threshold first off. So if we turn it all the way down, we get a lot more dynamics back. And then if you adjust this mix, you get a lot more of the original signal back. This post knob just tells you how loud you want everything to be afterwards. So I really don't mess with the post knob. I just leave that exactly where it's at. Same thing with the pre knob. Depending on the level that your 808 is at, if it's really low, you want to definitely boost this pre knob into this effect because it will drive the 808 signal harder into this threshold, which will cause more distortion. But adjusting this post knob won't do any of that. It'll just adjust the volume up or down of whatever you affected with your threshold and your mix. So now that we have the mix about 50-50, let's go ahead and add in a little more distortion with the threshold. I like it right about there. So yeah, this would be about the setting that I would have with the A setting. Maybe I would have this a little lower. And then increase the mix a little bit. And then let's go ahead and drive this into this effect a little more. Now the biggest advantage of using distortion on your 808s is the level of the 808. You get a lot more presence because it adds harmonics. So it's actually adding more frequencies to your 808, but the overall level of your 808 is actually going to be lower. So without it, we're hitting right above -3, and then with it, we're hitting below -3, or we're hitting almost right at -3. So it sounds quieter without the distortion and louder with the distortion, but you're actually getting a lower signal. This is one of the ways that mix engineers will achieve more loudness in their mix before mastering, and something that a mastering engineer might do to get a little more loudness in the overall master as well. Okay, so now let's switch over to the B side and just listen to the difference between A and B. Okay, so maybe I got that backwards. Maybe B is the more distorting effect. So again, you could tell that I really don't use Fruity Fast Distortion all that often compared to the other plugins. But let's go ahead and try and make the best out of this B section. Okay, so yeah, maybe I was right the first time. I do like B better, but it is giving a little bit more harmonics. And overall, I just feel like it's giving cleaner harmonics versus the A signal. The A signal just sounds a little more harsh to me, while the B signal, I could have this threshold up a lot higher, and I'm still driving into this effect, so that's just something to keep in mind. It just really depends on what you're looking for. Another trick that you'll see some engineers do, you could save this preset and copy it into the next slot. They'll do a double distortion. So let's take a listen to what this sounds like without changing anything. It should sound pretty nasty. And sure enough, it does. So let's adjust the mix, or let's just change the mix knob right here. And let's lower the drive. And then increase the mix back up. Actually, let's increase the mix here. Lower the threshold. No, I like it back up. Let's switch over to the A side. Again, I still like B better, even for this layering technique. And then another thing that I like to do after adding distortion, I like to EQ a second time. So let's throw in a parametric EQ2 and take a listen while we adjust. I want to switch this over to a notch filter. So let's go to type and select band stop. And test high quality versus the regular quality. I like it better on high quality, and that's really just going to depend on what you're looking for. And the reason I chose band stop instead of low cut or high pass is because I don't want to get rid of all of the signal. I just want to get rid of just right around 20 hertz or so and kind of leave everything else alone. Now from there, I want to find a signal that I want to boost. .74 sounds pretty good. Let's narrow this a little bit. And let's try and find something on the high end, see if we could bring this out just a little bit more. Narrow this. Sounds pretty good right there. And then I'm just going to change this over into a low pass, and I'm going to steepen this and bring this out. That just gets rid of any unnecessary frequencies up there. And then I want to go ahead and sweep and find any annoying frequencies that are in the middle here. Now you might be saying to yourself, all those sound nasty, but you got to keep in mind that when you're boosting a signal like this, everything's going to sound nasty. So you're really looking for what's really standing out even more compared to the other nasty signals. That's something that a lot of people forget to say. Ooh, definitely found something up there. right here. So we're going to go ahead and duck that down. And let's do another sweep. That sounds pretty bad. Let's go ahead and duck that. I decided I want this just a little lower, so. Now I want to show you which effect that I use more often than Fruity Fast Distortion. It's actually a 32-bit plugin. I actually asked FL Studio about this, if they ever plan on changing this to 64-bit. And it doesn't sound like they have any plans for that anytime soon. But it's still a really good plugin. The difference between the 32-bit and the 64-bit plugins in FL Studio, if you're using the 64-bit version, then your 32-bit plugins are going to be bridged, which takes up a little bit more CPU power. It's nothing too dramatic, so I still go ahead and use this plugin anyway, along with some other 32-bit plugins that I'm just in love with. But let's go ahead and play this while Fruity Blood Overdrive is on. I mean, without even changing a single thing, I already like that better than all of the things that we did with Fruity Fast Distortion. So with that, let's go ahead and just start left to right. So this is basically a filter right here. I like the darkness right there. I'm going to go ahead and copy that value so that we can go ahead and paste that back in after we find something to compare this to in terms of what I like and what I don't like. There we go. So let's bring some more frequencies back in by lowering this to the left. That sounds pretty mean, so I'm going to leave it right there. The color, I think the color is basically just telling you what additional harmonics are being played. And the preamp is basically a drive. It's going to drive the signal even more heavier into the effect. Let's adjust the color back down a little bit. This times 100, I think it's just doubling everything that we do here, so you just have it on or off, but I usually just leave it off. Post filter, just another filter. So this is filtering everything that we've done up here, while this band right here is giving us the filter before we get into the color and the preamp. So let's have that all the way off, and we have the full signal back again, which is what I liked. Maybe just a little bit of filtering just to darken it up a little bit. And then let's go ahead and drag this EQ down one slot, and let's listen to what this sounds like with the same post EQ that we added after the Fruity Fast Distortion. I like it, but I think I want to go even deeper with this boost right here. Sounds good right about there. And I'm just going to leave these little dips right where they're at, but to be 100% honest with you, if I was really caring about this mix, I would re-sweep because the frequencies that are poking out now are different. So, but overall, this EQ sounds pretty good as is, so I'm just going to leave it as is for the tutorial. I already showed you how to sweep frequencies, so I'm not going to do that twice. So let's go ahead and turn off Blood Overdrive and Fruity EQ, and let's go ahead and add in Fruity Wave Shaper. So Wave Shaper is pretty interesting because it actually has some of the same effects as Fruity Soft Clipper. So Fruity Soft Clipper is pretty famous for adding to your low end, like your kicks and your 808s, and even the overall mix, just to get a louder signal, but saturating it to where the peak level is actually lower, just like what I showed you with the 3D fast distortion. It'll do the same exact thing in terms of lowering the actual signal level, but producing a louder sound. But if we go to the presets here, you'll see soft clip 1, and this is literally the same exact effect as 3D soft clipper. So let's take a listen. And you'll hear that it's softened it up quite a bit. So let's turn that off and listen back. And then with it on, dramatic effect in terms of how soft it is. So when it's that low of a level, you'll see that this post gain is all the way up. Let's listen to it when we drive it into the signal. And that's with this preamp knob. So you can basically hear that this, when you're driving that signal, it's really creating that brick wall, or it's not really a brick wall, but it's a ceiling overall that's keeping that signal level from really going up. And you could kind of hear that effect. You could hear that the dynamics are being crushed there, which is something that I don't really like to do as dramatic as this. So let's go ahead and turn that preamp knob back down. Or another thing that you could do, if you had that up and you just turn the mix down, it's going to bring back the dynamics of the original signal again. So now you have this overall effect, and then you could bring down the mix knob on the effect itself right here to make it half this and half the original signal that we had. And then from there, I would go ahead and EQ that. Let's just use the same EQ that we had and just see what it sounds like. So I'm going to bring this band right here and boost up some of these higher frequencies. And I'm going to widen this band a little bit. And that's not too bad. Here's the original versus. So that's going to be a lot more audible in smaller speakers, especially laptop speakers. Let's go ahead and add a band here. And you'll notice that the more I go to the left here, this is really going to distort it. Turn this mix back up. And you can see we're clipping here, so let's go ahead and turn the post down a little bit. Quick saturation is another good one. Soft saturation is another good one. Let's go to quick saturation here. You'll also see some 3D fast distortion presets here. So definitely go through all these presets and just listen to what you like. And the main things that you're going to be adjusting is the preamp and the mix knob, just to drive it into the signal even more or less, and then mix that in with how much you want that effect with the original signal. Yeah, on top of that, don't forget the technique of adding 2 forms of distortion in a row, especially if you're combining, say, fast distortion with blood overdrive or combining wave shaper with blood overdrive. Just having 2 in a row can bring out even more frequencies, and then adding your parametric EQ before and after so that you could shape all of the distortion and all the frequencies is definitely going to help you out a lot. If you like this tutorial, definitely subscribe, hit that like button, comment down below if you have any questions, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.